The vision of the later years often conjures images of a gradual dimming, a slow retreat of cognitive faculties where memory and sharpness quietly fade into the background. This narrative of inevitable decline suggests that the brain is destined to wither like an unwatered plant, leaving the individual to accept a destiny of mental fog and fragility. However, this pessimistic script ignores the profound capacity of the human body for regeneration and defense when provided with the right tools and, crucially, the right intention. A mind that remains vibrant, expansive, and agile well past the age of 60 is not merely a stroke of genetic luck, but the result of conscious alignment with biological wisdom. By transforming a ubiquitous daily habit into a strategic ritual, the individual can harness powerful neuroprotective compounds to erect a barrier against degeneration. Through the lens of Wayne Dyer, this approach moves beyond simple chemistry. It becomes an act of self-reverence, a declaration that the spirit and the mind are limitless, provided the temple that houses them is treated with awareness and respect. The awakening of intention and the cortisol rhythm, the journey to cognitive longevity, begins not with the first sip of the morning, but with the precise timing of that sip relative to the body's internal clock. Upon waking, the human endocrine system orchestrates a surge of cortisol, a hormone designed to transition the body from sleep to alertness. This natural cortisol awakening response is a vital biological tide that naturally clears the fog of sleep and prepares the physiology for the demands of the day. If the individual immediately floods the system with caffeine during this peak hormonal window, the stimulant interferes with the body's innate signaling, blunting the natural energy production and creating a dependency that weakens the system over time. Wayne Dyer often spoke of flowing with the universe rather than swimming upstream. And physiologically, waiting allows the body to perform its own miracle of awakening before adding external support. By pausing for 60 to 90 minutes after rising, the individual aligns their consumption with a natural dip in cortisol, ensuring that the caffeine acts as a sustainer of energy rather than a disruptor of biological rhythm. This delay serves a dual purpose, functioning as a period of hydration and mental preparation before the introduction of a stimulant. During sleep, the body loses a significant amount of water through respiration and perspiration, leaving the brain slightly dehydrated and the blood volume reduced. Consuming a diuretic like coffee immediately upon waking exacerbates this deficit, stressing the kidneys and thickening the blood, which can impede the efficient delivery of oxygen to cognitive centers. The optimal protocol involves consuming a large glass of water, perhaps with a squeeze of lemon or a pinch of mineral salt, to rehydrate the tissues and flush the metabolic waste accumulated during the night. This act of purification prepares the cellular terrain to receive the benefits of the coffee, treating the body as a sacred vessel that must be cleansed before it is fueled. It reflects the principle that how one starts the day sets the intention for every moment that follows, prioritizing balance and internal harmony over a frantic rush for artificial stimulation. From a mechanistic standpoint, the interaction between caffeine and adenosine receptors is most effective when the brain has had time to clear the residual sleep inertia naturally. Adenosine builds up in the brain throughout the day to signal fatigue, and caffeine operates by blocking these receptors, effectively preventing the sensation of tiredness. When coffee is consumed too early, while cortisol is still high, the drug's efficacy is diminished, and the body builds a tolerance more rapidly, requiring higher doses to achieve the same clarity. By waiting until mid-morning, the caffeine arrives exactly when the natural cortisol tide is receding and adenosine begins to whisper its first notes of fatigue. This strategic timing maximizes the neuroprotective and alertness-enhancing properties of the bean without overtaxing the adrenal glands. It turns the morning cup into a tool for sustained focus rather than a crutch for waking up, allowing the mind to operate from a place of abundance rather than deficit. A common scenario illustrates this shift from unconscious habit to intentional ritual in the life of a vibrant senior. Instead of stumbling to the coffee pot immediately after the alarm rings, the individual rises and opens the curtains to let in the natural light, signaling the circadian rhythm to begin its work. They spend the first hour of the day moving the body gently, perhaps stretching or walking, and drinking water to replenish the system, observing the morning with a sense of gratitude and presence. Only after they have showered and settled into the rhythm of the morning do they approach the coffee preparation, grinding the beans with awareness and anticipating the experience. When they finally take that first sip around 9:30 a.m., the effect is clean, potent, and sustained, free from the jitters or the mid-afternoon crash that accompanies early consumption. This practice transforms the coffee break into a reward for patience and a reinforcement of the body's natural strength. However, there are limitations to this timing for those who wake extremely early or have specific metabolic conditions that require immediate caloric intake. For an individual who rises at 4 a.m., waiting until 6 a.m. might still place them within a cortisol window that differs from the standard wake-up time, requiring adjustment based on personal circadian rhythms. Furthermore, some individuals may feel a psychological dependency on the warmth and comfort of the mug immediately upon rising, which can be difficult to break. In such cases, substituting the first cup with herbal tea or warm water with lemon can satisfy the psychological need for a warm morning vessel without disrupting the hormonal cascade. The goal is not rigid adherence to a rule, but the cultivation of an awareness that honors the body's needs. It is about recognizing that the source of energy is internal and that external substances should support, not supplant, the life force. It acts as a gentle acknowledgement that the rush of the modern world often pressures the individual to override their natural rhythms in favor of immediate productivity. This pause allows the person to reclaim their autonomy, deciding that their well-being dictates the schedule rather than the other way around. Dyer emphasized that we are not our physical bodies, but the invisible intelligence that animates them. Treating the biology with such precision is an acknowledgement of that intelligence. When the individual waits, they're essentially telling their body that they trust its ability to wake up and they trust the natural order of their physiology. This mindset shifts the locus of control from the substance to the self, reinforcing the idea that health is something generated from within through wise choices. There's a profound peace in realizing that the body does not need to be forced into alertness, but simply supported in its natural unfolding. By respecting the cortisol awakening response, the individual protects the delicate axis of the stress hormones, which is crucial for preserving memory and emotional stability in later years. Chronic elevation of cortisol is known to be toxic to the hippocampus, the memory center of the brain, so managing this hormone through timing is a direct investment in cognitive preservation. The simple act of waiting becomes a neuroprotective strategy, shielding the brain from the wear and tear of unnecessary stress signals. It is a daily practice of no-limits thinking, where the individual refuses to be limited by the habit of immediate gratification and instead chooses the path of long-term vitality. What subtle dependency am I willing to release to trust my body's natural strength? The biochemical shield of the dark roast, once the timing is aligned with the body's wisdom. The focus must shift to the substance itself, specifically the roast level and the biochemical profile of the bean. While light roasts are often praised for their higher caffeine content, recent research suggests that dark roasts may hold the key to superior neuroprotection for the aging brain. The roasting process transforms the chemical structure of the coffee bean, creating a specific class of compounds known as phenylendanes, which are unique to darker roasts. These compounds have been shown to inhibit the clumping of beta-amyloid and tau proteins, the two toxic proteins largely responsible for the plaque buildup associated with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's diseases. Dyer often taught that everything in the universe is energy and vibration. In this context, the dark roast carries a specific energetic signature that acts as a shield, preventing the structural degradation of the neural networks. The mechanism by which phenylendanes operate is a fascinating display of nature's pharmaceutical capability. These compounds effectively prevent the misfolding of proteins that leads to neurotoxicity, acting as a barrier between the healthy brain cells and the destructive protein aggregates. Unlike antioxidants that simply scavenge free radicals, phenylendanes interfere with the physical process of plaque formation, offering a structural defense for the neurons. For the individual over 60, whose brain is naturally more susceptible to protein accumulation, this distinction is critical. Choosing a high-quality dark roast is not merely a matter of taste preference, but a strategic selection of a brain shield that reinforces the cellular integrity of the central nervous system. It represents a choice to consume foods that actively work on behalf of the body's longevity. In the practical application of this knowledge, the quality of the coffee becomes paramount, as the benefits of phenylendanes can be negated by the presence of toxins found in low-quality commercial beans. Mass-produced coffee often contains molds and mycotoxins, which can cause inflammation and brain fog, directly countering the neuroprotective goals. The conscious individual seeks out organic, single-origin beans that have been tested for purity, ensuring that the vessel of the body is filled with a clean, high-vibrational substance. They might choose a French roast or an Italian roast, understanding that the longer roasting time has unlocked the specific medicinal properties needed for their stage of life. This selection process is an exercise in self-worth, affirming that the individual deserves the highest quality nourishment available. There is a counter-narrative that suggests caffeine is the only active ingredient of value in coffee, leading some to rely on supplements or energy drinks. However, this reductionist view misses the symphonic interaction of the hundreds of bioactive compounds present in the whole bean. The isolation of caffeine removes the protective context of the polyphenol and phenylendanes, often leading to overstimulation without the neuroprotective benefit. Furthermore, very dark roasts can be lower in acid, making them gentler on the stomach for seniors who may struggle with digestive sensitivity. The limitation lies in the potential for charred or burnt beans to contain acrylamide, a harmful compound, so the sourcing must focus on high-quality artisan roasts rather than simply burnt commercial varieties. The preparation of this dark roast can become a meditative practice, reinforcing the connection between the mind and the material world. As the individual measures the beans and smells the deep, rich aroma, they're engaging the olfactory senses, which are directly linked to the memory centers of the brain. This sensory engagement primes the neurological pathways even before the first sip is taken. It is a moment of pausing to appreciate the abundance of the earth, aligning with the Dyer philosophy of finding the miraculous in the mundane. The act of brewing becomes a celebration of life and a proactive step towards maintaining a sharp, agile mind. The consumption of this dark elixir should be viewed as delivering a payload of protective agents to the brain's vascular system. Research indicates that moderate coffee consumption is linked to better vascular health, which is critical for preventing vascular dementia and maintaining oxygen flow to cognitive tissues. By choosing the dark roast, the individual is optimizing this delivery system to target the specific vulnerabilities of the aging brain. It is a proactive stance against the fear of decline, replacing worry with a tangible, scientifically grounded action. The individual moves from hoping for health to actively constructing it through their daily choices. Ultimately, the choice of what to put in the cup reflects a deeper understanding of the body as a manifestation of the mind's intent. If the mind intends to stay sharp and limitless, the actions must support that intention. Drinking a dark roast rich in phenylendanes is a physical manifestation of the desire to protect the self and maintain autonomy. It is a refusal to accept the erroneous zone of inevitable decay, choosing instead to utilize the resources of nature to maintain the temple. The coffee becomes more than a beverage. It becomes a daily affirmation of life, clarity, and enduring mental power. In what ways do my daily choices reflect a belief in my own limitless potential? The alchemy of additions and hydration, the final component of this neuroprotective strategy, involves the alchemy of what is added to the coffee and the crucial balance of hydration that must accompany it. The standard habit of loading coffee with refined sugar and artificial creamers creates an inflammatory spike that undermines the brain-shielding benefits of the bean. Sugar is a known contributor to systemic inflammation and insulin resistance, often referred to as type 3 diabetes when it affects the brain, accelerating cognitive decline. To transform the cup into true brain fuel, the individual must replace these inflammatory agents with functional ingredients like cinnamon, raw cacao, or healthy fats such as MCT oil or grass-fed butter. Wayne Dyer spoke of the body as a perfect system that seeks balance. Adding these elements works with the body's metabolic intelligence rather than against it. Mechanism-wise, the addition of Ceylon cinnamon serves a potent physiological function by improving insulin sensitivity and stabilizing blood sugar levels. When blood glucose is stable, the brain receives a steady supply of fuel rather than experiencing the spikes and crashes that lead to mental fog and fatigue. Furthermore, incorporating medium-chain triglycerides, MCTs, or healthy fats can encourage the production of ketones, an alternative energy source that the aging brain often utilizes more efficiently than glucose. This metabolic switching provides a cleaner burning fuel for neurons, enhancing focus and cognitive endurance. The combination of caffeine, polyphenol, and healthy fats creates a synergistic effect where the caffeine improves alertness while the fats provide the sustained energy to maintain it, preventing the jitters and anxiety often associated with plain black coffee. An applied scenario involves the senior standing in their kitchen, treating the coffee preparation as a laboratory of wellness. Instead of reaching for the sugar bowl, they sprinkle a generous teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon into the grounds before brewing, infusing the spice directly into the liquid. After brewing, they might blend in a small amount of coconut oil or MCT oil, watching the liquid turn into a creamy, latte-like emulsion without a gram of dairy or sugar. This drink is not just a wake-up call. It is a nutrient-dense meal for the brain. They consume this alongside a glass of water equal in volume to the coffee, strictly adhering to a 1-to-1 ratio to neutralize the diuretic effect. This habit ensures that the cellular hydration necessary for neurotransmission is never compromised by the consumption of the stimulant. A significant limitation to consider is the individual's specific tolerance to fats and spices. For some, MCT oil can cause digestive distress if introduced too quickly, requiring a gradual titration starting with very small amounts. Additionally, while cinnamon is beneficial, the common cassia variety contains coumarin, which can be harmful to the liver in large doses. Therefore, the specific sourcing of Ceylon cinnamon is critical for safety. The individual must listen to their body's feedback, adjusting the recipe to find the harmonious blend that energizes without causing discomfort. It is not about following a rigid prescription, but engaging in a dialogue with one's own physiology to find the sweet spot of performance and well-being. This approach effectively neutralizes the common enemy of the typical Western diet, which is high in pro-inflammatory sugars and low in neuroprotective nutrients. By curating the contents of the cup, the individual takes a stand against the passive consumption of harmful additives that dull the mind. It aligns with the spiritual principle of purity, ensuring that what enters the body serves the highest good of the person. The mental clarity that results from this stable energy allows the individual to engage more fully in their spiritual and creative pursuits, proving that physical health is the foundation of higher awareness. The brain, fed with ketones and protected from sugar spikes, becomes a quiet, efficient vessel for the mind's work. The role of water cannot be overstated in this equation. As we age, the thirst mechanism often becomes less acute, leading to chronic low-grade dehydration, which mimics symptoms of dementia and fatigue. Coffee, while beneficial, can mask thirst. By anchoring the coffee habit to water consumption, creating a rule where coffee cannot be touched until the water is finished, the individual creates a behavioral fail-safe that guarantees hydration. This simple mechanical rule supports the electrical conductivity of the brain, ensuring that thoughts move rapidly and memories are accessed with ease. It is a humble practice that yields profound results, keeping the tissues supple and the mind fluid. Ultimately, This alchemy is about taking responsibility for the internal environment. It rejects the notion that decline is a lottery and embraces the power of nutritional epigenetics. The idea that we can influence how our genes express themselves through our environment and intake. Wayne Dyer's message of pulling your own strings applies perfectly here. The individual is pulling the strings of their own biology, orchestrating a chemical environment that favors longevity, clarity, and joy. The coffee cup becomes a microcosm of the life well lived. Intentional, balanced, high quality, and deeply satisfying. Where can I introduce more balance to support my energy today? Conclusion. The ageless mind and the power of ritual the journey to shielding the brain and memory after 60 is not found in a single magic pill, but in the accumulation of small, intentional choices made with consistency and self-love. By reimagining the daily coffee habit, the individual transforms a mundane routine into a powerful protocol for longevity. This process integrates the wisdom of timing to honor the hormonal tides, the selection of the dark roast to physically block neurodegeneration, and the alchemy of ingredients to fuel the mind with stable, clean energy. It is a holistic approach that bridges the gap between the latest neuroscience and the timeless spiritual truth that the body is a temple worthy of the highest care. The promise of a sharp, vibrant mind is not an empty hope, but a physiological reality available to those who are willing to apply these principles with dedication. In the philosophy of Wayne Dyer, there are no limits to what we can manifest, including the vitality of our own physical form. The erroneous zone of believing that age equals decline is dismantled when the individual takes proactive command of their biology. This protocol serves as a daily reminder that the power to heal and sustain the self lies within the choices of the present moment. The senior who adopts this ritual is not merely drinking coffee. They are affirming their continued relevance, their capacity for growth, and their commitment to experiencing life with full cognitive presence. They are rejecting the role of the victim of aging and stepping into the role of the master of their own vitality. As the years advance, the mind should not shrink. It should expand, deepening in wisdom and perspective. The biological support provided by this coffee protocol clears the physical cobwebs, allowing the light of the spirit to shine through without obstruction. It ensures that the machinery of the brain remains capable of processing the rich experiences of the later years, preserving the precious memories that constitute a life's narrative. This is the ultimate victory of healthy aging. To arrive at the later chapters of life with the pages crisp, the ink clear, and the story still being written with a steady hand. The invitation is to view the morning cup not as a crutch, but as a sacrament of self-preservation. It is a moment to pause, to breathe, and to consciously fuel the incredible instrument that is the human brain. By drinking with intention, the individual shields their memory, protects their peace, and fuels a future that is as bright and energized as they choose to make it. The constraints of age are often self-imposed, or at least accepted without question. This practice is the question, and the answer is a resounding yes to life, energy, and the boundless potential of the human spirit. What creates the feeling of limitlessness in my life right now?